I'm a neo-reactionary absolutist. I believe in a absolute world order, organized in a particular way.
When you're looking at a government is a corporation that owns a country. It just is. It's the same thing.
I'm Peter Thiel. I support people who are building new things. I'm not a politician, but neither is Donald Trump. And it's time to rebuild America.
Anything we can do to help this go along, and we're going to be there for you. And you'll call my people, you'll call me. It doesn't make any difference. We have no formal chain of command.
Hiya. Today we are going to look at William Coleshill. He pretty much came out of nowhere. Back in 2018, he was suspended as a Conservative councillor for racist remarks. And then 2 years later, he just kind of pops up out of nowhere at Speaker's Corner, making some speech during lockdown. And it's just theatre.
Finish it! Don't worry about me! Finish the speech! Finish the speech! Finish it!
2 weeks before that event, he was at the Keep Britain Free Simon Dolan's court case. It seemed like he was trying to make it as a court reporter. And if we look a little bit further into Simon Dolan, we can see that he's a businessman. He was interested in motor racing, so he wanted to become a driver. You can't really do that unless you've got sponsorship, or it's going to cost you a lot of money. He wanted to ensure that his team could continue to compete, because I don't think it was doing well, and without it becoming a huge drain on his own resources. So he spent a lot of time getting sponsorship from various companies, notably from Russian gas giant Gazprom. So we've got connections to Russia here. There's so many reports on Russia and Rupley and Russia Today where these platforms are just set up to cause chaos, to undermine Western democracies. So then while we're fighting amongst each other like the bread and circus, the Russians get to benefit. And how do they do this? What kind of tactics? Well, they use conspiracism. So it makes sense that we see William Coleshill promoting the Light newspaper, which is full of anti-Semitism, where they equate truth-telling to Holocaust denying in this article here. And that's the exact copy that he's promoting there. And you can see that if you check his channel, you can see the Light newspaper is kind of like all over it. He's connected to Sam English from Subject Access. Also, he's fluent in Russian. They're basically the spark of the walking CCTV job description, where these are the two that make it look fun, make it look appealing to others, and then others copy them. Others see that they're getting lots of attention doing this, so then other people with phones and want to film things will get involved, and we'll go over some of those characters in future episodes. We can see that there's so many characters that he's kind of friendly with and networked with, including David Icke.
How's it going? GB, how are you, mate? Oh wow, you recognise us. That's an honour.
Oh wow,
That's an
honour.
Thank you very much. Well, thanks for putting some of our stuff up on your website. Yeah.
He's very close to Haiku Ku, who we can see he announced the his first speech at the silent vigil.
I would like to make a short speech.
Maybe he's filming it.
For a very simple reason.
Ramis here, he likes to, this is William Coleshill filming again. He's outside a school, filming kids. And
Mama,
Ramis
don't tell this.
acting like a pure madman. He also likes to get involved in the Julian Assange case. He's always at the protests. He's always at the court cases. But what's interesting to me, Peter Thiel's company Palantir was caught planning operations to infiltrate and hijack the free speech left. Primary targets, WikiLeaks and Glenn Greenwald. Anyone think this was the end of the plan? So Glenn Greenwald is actually making content for Peter Thiel's new competitor to YouTube. He's already infiltrated Glenn Greenwald after his Snowden leaks. How, if he was going to infiltrate WikiLeaks, how would he go about this? We find that Russia also threatened to destroy WikiLeaks if they were to release any information about Russia, and that was back in 2010. I'm pretty sure that since then WikiLeaks did release stuff on Russia, so it makes sense that Russia would have axe to grind against them. And then we have coincidental connections between Zuckerberg, Thiel, Trump, Russia, and Goldman Sachs. We find that back in 2009, Russian internet giant DST invested $200 million for 2% of Facebook. So this is Russian billionaire Alisher Usmanov. And then in June 2009, he invests 100 million more. So we've got the connections to Russia, we've got the connections to Peter Thiel, we've got the motive to undermine WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. It makes sense that you'd send in...
So why are you two here today?
Supporting Julian Assange against the New World Order.
Absolutely, I'm here to support Julian Assange as well with everybody else because he's being treated unjustly.
It would just make sense to send these people in to try and discredit the protest, to make sure the protest doesn't get too large, so there's not as much attention on Julian Assange's plight. And then when we look into the plan of Palantir, the one that they apologized for against WikiLeaks, we see that part of their plan was a focus on information operations. So they want to influence the operations of the free speech left and WikiLeaks and Glenn Greenwald, which they've succeeded with Glenn Greenwald by getting him onto Peter Thiel's new platform. And they want to exploit social media, and they want to develop their own media. And that is exactly what William Coleshill has done. He's taken Peter Thiel's 0 to 1 monopoly mentality and ran with it. He's done 357 videos in just over a year. So that's a little under one video per day. Like I say, he started off with this Keep Britain Free guy, Simon Dolan, who had connections to Russia, who also went to Russia to ask for money to keep his motor racing team going. So it just makes sense that this isn't as grassroots as they try and make out that it is. It is an AstroTurf infiltration, 0 to 1 mentality of protest coverage and causing chaos to discredit or to undermine Western democracy. So if we try and get into some of the actions William Coleshill has done, he was very influential in the infiltration of the Silent Vigil, in which his friend Haiku Ku made a speech, and they basically then accelerated the crowd into an anti-police riot instead of a silent vigil to grieve over a woman who's just been murdered. And you can see that he's going around with big smiles on his face, and he's told multiple times to either stop filming people or stop smiling. You can see it here.
I didn't realise you guys were there. Would you guys like to talk about what brought you down here? That's okay. You guys can be shy.
He's told to stop smiling at a vigil.
I've been told not to smile.
So he's at a vigil and he's smiling, and it's like he's having all this fun, like playing a computer game like we've talked about before. And like I made clear in this tweet, there's people are suffering due to a pandemic. People are having a terrible time, yet Coleshill is loving it. Let's listen to what he's got to say here.
I see this as an opportunity. I'm going to be honest, I've not had more fun in my life than in the last year.
He's not had more fun in his life than in the last year.
Well, I've ignored all of the stupid arbitrary laws.
And the same as Lawrence Fox, because obviously they're privileged, they've got loads of money, they don't really fucking need their jobs. And obviously Coleshill is having his ego stroke like he's never had his ego stroke before. This is Coleshill gloating about the way he carries a knife.
To be fair, perfectly reasonable for us to stay there until we have our things. It was nice, like the policeman had to hand me back my knife.
And this is coming at a time when a quarter more fatal stabbings in London so far in 2021 as capital could have worst year for killings on record. So at a time when we've got knife bins to try and promote giving up knives because knives just lead to killing people, especially when, let's say you get into an argument and it escalates into a fight. If no one has a weapon, it's likely no one's going to die. However, if someone has a weapon, the chances massively increase that either you are going to kill the other person, or you're going to have the knife taken off you, and that knife is going to be used to kill you. So the fact that he's promoting using knives in a city where knife crime is through the roof is just wildly irresponsible. However, he probably doesn't care about the irresponsible nature of what he's doing. In fact, he's promoting this carrying of knives for a reason.
This strategy is vulnerable as it requires the police to rely on their relatively small number of minimally guarded vehicles to rapidly move between the protest location and the processing centre, unless of course the protest is located in Parliament Square. Police have had trouble with individuals previously trying to flatten tyres to prevent unlawful arrests and render their operations impotent.
He's actually telling the truth here. If we go back to the Rupley video of his speech and his arrest at Speaker's Corner, while he's been bundled into the van, look at this kid here, right in view of the police, right in view of this guy, and he's just letting down the tyre. The cameraman is able to go round the policeman and film the guy letting the tyre down before anyone does anything. So there's Piers Corbyn's tattooed face tattooed guy. There's a lot of carnage here.
I'm just outside Speaker's.
David Curtin there. So he's telling the truth about someone letting down the tyre.
While some have previously attempted letting down tyres manually, this has proved ineffective for the time it takes. It is more probable that protesters will therefore use small legal pocket knives, such as folding non-locking blades under 3 inches for general utility, such as cutting through to opening packaging.
That's exactly the description of his own knife that he uses, and that's exactly the description of what he uses it for. So is he admitting to the fact that he has punctured police vehicles with his knife? And is that what his knife is actually intended for? To cause more chaos on our streets that he is responsible for? It's like cause chaos, police come out to respond to chaos, and then he comes out and slashes all the police tyres because like he's a child.
To puncture tyres in seconds and grind arrests to a standstill, as has happened at previous protests.
This video gets a little bit more prophetic. This was on the 13th of March, which is it was released either on the day of the vigil or like the day before, the day after or something. But let's listen to this little section here.
In some protests, solid wooden walking sticks and metal water bottles, both legal, have been used. Bottles used as projectiles may also be employed, although this has proven unpopular in recent protests due to the liability to injure innocent protesters. Protesters are also...
So that's why you see him in a helmet these days. But a week after he made this video, what do we see? We see the police being attacked using bottles and all sorts of missiles. So this was kind of like the first time that we saw like front lines where they were literally battling each other. This is the first time I've seen such a large amount of police falling backwards because the protesters are showing more power than the police have. Even though the protesters are supposed to be unarmed, their bottles full of water was enough to get the police to retreat. Inspired, at least partly, by Coleshill the previous week with the content of his video. Here's when he's arrested. I can't remember what for now, but look at the way that his flying monkeys are really desperate to try and disrupt his arrest. I've not seen this many people try and attack the police during an arrest. Like, how does he have this much support? Because most of the time when someone in the crowd gets arrested, They just let them be arrested, and there's no violent attacks on the police to try and rescue them. But with Coleshill, it was different. Like this guy, he just had one guy try and help him, but everyone else is pretty much just leaving him to it. You can see that Coleshill is an unpredictable figure. He's a stochastic terrorist in the way that he talks about attacking the police, and I mean, I'm no fan of the police, but you got to draw the line for like somewhere. And so when he's got this much support trying to like rescue him from the police, it makes sense that he'd have a lot of support at the silent vigil in order to pull off such a event that fools the whole nation and journalists who were there. Like to the point where like he's walking around when it's light before the protest is supposed to have been organized for, and he's told like, stop filming, fuck off, what are you doing, this like weirdo.
And only now. You're wearing masks.
Doesn't matter. Go away. We're breathing. Go away.
Excuse me.
No.
Could you have some manners, please? People would like to see what's going on as well, not just you.
People come down here. People are breathing. We didn't ask for. We didn't consent to this.
Not everyone lives in London.
So a little later on, he actually, someone else asks him, hey, I don't want to be on camera. And he actually blacks the other person out himself. I've had to black those women out myself. He refused to do it for them, I imagine, because he felt they were rude in asking him not to be filmed. So we have this guy who is entitled. He invades people's spaces. He promotes the use of the carrying of knives. 2 years before the silent vigil, he was accused of harassing Jess Phillips. So what is this man doing at a silent vigil when a woman's been murdered? It just kind of doesn't make sense. This is him harassing journalists with a knife in his pocket.
Illegal. How can it be legal to lock people in their houses without judge, jury, and execution?
Like that's an almost lynching there for Nick Watt. So when Nick Watt's been harassed by William Coleshill and all the protesters, contrast that behaviour from Coleshill with this behaviour that we see here when it's a different organisation. This is a couple of Russia Today journalists being harassed in the same way as Nick Watt was. William Coleshill comes and doesn't join in like he did with Nick Watt. He protects Russia Today. He protects them from the mob. And that mob included ex-military, like wearing their berets. Here we go, look. And then there was the Gove incident, where he's the first one there. And there's cameras already set up on Gove. Like we can see from his own footage. Like the protesters are way behind. We've got one, two, three journalists, supposed journalists, with their cameras on Michael Gove. There's a police camera on Michael Gove, so there's 5 cameras on Michael Gove before anyone else spots him.
Mr. Gove, how do you justify the illegal lockdowns that are being pushed on this country?
6 cameras, there's another guy.
No.
Big smiles on Michael Gove, and a big smile on Michael Gove's face. And then here we have William Coleshill pictured with Boris Johnson. Yeah. Coleshill's not even allergic to the traditional far-right people that you'd usually see on my channel. Here he is with Steve from Speaker's Corner, big Tommy Robinson fan and Islamophobe. He just leaves his camera with him. This is Coleshill with Tommy Robinson fanboy Mark Martin, otherwise known as Busker Patriot News. They're walking together there, having a nice chat. This is ex-BNP member Sadie Graham making a speech with Piers Corbyn. Here's some more information on her. And then here he is taking a break with Gavin Malone and other characters like this Free Hugs guy. And the reason why this is here, just to end it, because it is bonfire night tomorrow.
We're going to blow up Parliament soon, hurrah, hurrah. They're going to lock off time before
That's on the live stream.
I don't care. They're going to lock off time before
This man is trolling the police officer watching the stream.
His name's not Sarah though, anyway. We don't know of a Sarah ever wrong.
Oh,
Wayne
please stop.
Cousins was a false flag.
No, please. Stop. Yeah. Well, look, I bought
swing them from London Bridge when
muffins yesterday.
We're swinging them from London Bridge when noon comes. They'll be swinging it, they'll be swinging.
Stop it.
Swinging from their necks. Swinging from their necks until noon comes.
I'm a neo-reactionary absolutist. I believe in a absolute world order, organized a particular way.
When you're looking at a government is a corporation that owns a country. It just is. It's the same thing.
I'm Peter Thiel. I support people who are building new things. I'm not a politician, but neither is Donald Trump. And it's time to rebuild America.
Anything we can do to help this go along, and we're going to be there for you. And you'll call my people, you'll call me. It doesn't make any difference. We have no formal chain of command.